Welcome to 365 Christian Men, where every day we aim to inspire and encourage with real-life stories about men. April 27th, Louie, Giglio. Louie has pastored churches, launched the careers of well-known worship leaders, and written best-selling books. He is best known for the Passion Movement, which includes an annual conference for young people aged 18 to 25. The first Passion Conference was held in 1997 with about 2,000 university students. In 2019, more than 40,000 young people and leaders attended the Passion Conference, and they collected $400,000 to fund a Bible translation for deaf people around the globe. Since 2007, the Passion Movement has donated more than $18 million to more than 70 partner ministries around the world. All this activity got its start when an adult cared enough to teach a boy that with God, even one boy can do great things. Here's how it happened. Don't give the enemy a seat at your table. Remove the chair. Mesmerized middle schoolers leaned in hard toward the man in the front of the chapel. With his whole body and the whole range of his voice, he transported the kids to a battle in the Middle East, where a teenage shepherd stepped up to battle a giant with a massive sword, a giant all the other soldiers were afraid to fight. In the pews, kids' eyes grew wide. The speaker told them the king warned the kid not to try to fight the giant. He'd get killed. But the boy said, "When a lion or a bear came and carried off a sheep from the flock, I went after it, struck it, and rescued the sheep from its mouth. When it turned on me, I seized it by its hair, struck it, and killed it. The Lord who rescued me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear will rescue me from the hand of this Philistine." In the pews, kids' mouths gaped open. The speaker whirled his imaginary slingshot around and around his head, and he cut it loose. He cast an imaginary stone, and the rock hit the God-mocking giant smack in the forehead, and he fell down dead. The man's eyes blazed, and he pointed at the campers. You can slay the giants in your life, too. In the audience, 14-year-old Louie Giglio felt as if the man were pointing right at him. Later, Louie and his buddies went out and each found 5 killer rocks, like David had. They wanted to consecrate their rocks to God at the next night's service and prove they had what it took to be like David, to be giant slayers too. Then, somewhere between middle school and full maturity, Louie found out who his giant actually was, and who was the only one who could bring that giant down. Louie couldn't do it. His giant slayer was Jesus. On the job, Louie had come under a lot of pressure. He felt like he was being attacked. People at work got more and more critical, and the idea that a conspiracy was afoot got a toehold. The giant in his head whispered everyone was against him. And that creepy voice was sounding louder than God's. Louie got so obsessed with this idea, he texted a long and miserable message to a friend, and his friend texted back with a short and wise one. Don't give the enemy a seat at your table. 9 words. 9 words that Louie never forgot. 9 words that shaped the rest of his life. Louie realized he had to shift his focus from whatever giant was holding him back to Jesus Christ, who had already defeated Louie's spiritual enemies on the cross. Knowing this made it possible for Louie to shift his thinking in a big way. Since Jesus had prepared a table for Louie, the giant he was obsessed with had no business poisoning the table talk. Then, in 1995, at a conference on worship, Louie heard a speaker named John Piper. It was the message he had been waiting to hear, about not worshiping God for the sake of worshiping, but for spreading the fame of Jesus. It was exactly what David had done when he faced Goliath and shouted, You come against me with a sword, spear, and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord of armies, the God of the ranks of Israel. This whole assembly will know that it is not by sword or by spear that the Lord saves, for the battle is the Lord's." 1 Samuel 17:45 and 47. David had glorified God and lit a passion for him among the armies of Israel. It was the same kind of passion Louie wanted to ignite in others. During the break, Louie spotted Piper seated alone in the cafeteria, about to enjoy a forkful of green beans. Louie approached unannounced. "Dr. Piper, I hate to interfere with your meal, but I want you to know I haven't heard 5 people in my life speak the way you did." Piper's reply was simple. "Well, why don't you be one? And then there will be 6. Why couldn't he be one? Why couldn't he inspire everybody to give glory to God? That question grew into a spiritual mandate, and it sparked a student movement called Passion, which spread around the world. Whose renown are you fighting for? Don't give the enemy a seat at your table. Remove the chair. Thank you for listening to today's story. Every day of the year, our hope is to inspire you with real-life stories of faithful men who have gone before us. Hebrews 12:1 says, "Therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin that so easily ensnares us. Let us run with endurance the race that is set before us." Join us tomorrow for another story at 365christianmen.com.